Good morning, everyone. It is April 13th. This is Victory Loves Company. I am James Lynch. He is Jim West. Jim, how are you this morning?
I'm doing good, except my neck feels like I can't move it because Aspen. I was grappling with Aspen last night, and she decides to
Did you rip your neck off?
likes to throw stockades and crucifixes and all kinds of different things and really mess with your neck. So
You
I'm
need to get
feeling it
that
right
so
now.
right, man. That stuff will get that tension out of there, the stiffness. That's what I live by. Shout out to So Right. They're a great company. Solo show today, everyone. Really happy because we got a lot to talk about. There's so much going on right now. We're going to dig right into it. Where's your coffee cup this morning, Jim? I almost
I
don't
didn't have
recognize you
time. I
without it.
actually woke up a little bit late, and I'm like, oh crap!
Wow.
I'm not gonna be able to get my coffee going right now, so I'll have to wait until after the show to have it.
Gotcha.
It's
Well,
disappointing.
yeah, we got a ton to talk about. First, let's start with, because we haven't really dug into this too much, Aspen's fight with Macy Chasson. I want to start there first, just because obviously, you're close to the situation. When did Macy come on your radar as an opponent? Because it sort of seemed like this came together pretty quickly. I know for a while it was Raquel Pennington.
Well, so Aspen there's a timeline on when Aspen can fight, right? So she couldn't fight. They wouldn't clear her really to fight. They felt all of her team physicians and everything thought July was the best time frame based on everything. So we knew that. And then just taking in consideration, Aspen's number 3, right? And just look at the top 10. You have Amanda, right? Who obviously don't know what she's doing. Number 1 is Jermaine, who broke her hand. So, and she's already went on record a million times saying, I'm not fighting at all unless I'm fighting Amanda again. So, all right.
Good luck with that.
Holly with her kidney issues and probably surgery, etc. So that eliminates that. Then Aspen's 3, 4 is I think Pena, and she's being a ass and running, right, and saying also I'm not fighting unless I'm Amanda. So it's like, dude, well, we want to fucking fight, right? 5, I think, is it's Yana. Aspen already knocked her out.
Yeah.
6 is I want to say.
Here, I'll bring it up right now. So we actually have it in front of her here. So hold on. Let's go through bantamweight right now. It is whatchamacallit. So Jermaine's number 1, Holly number 2, Aspen number 3, Irene Aldana number 4, but Irene lost.
She's injured.
I can understand.
She lost, and she's coming off of surgery, so she's not ready.
Yeah, she beat Yana. Juliana's 6. Caitlin Vieira's number 7. Caitlin just lost.
Twice.
And then you've got Sarah McMahon, who's lost. So you got Macy. Yeah, I see what you mean. Like I remember thinking about it. Like, yeah.
Right, and Macy's 4-1 in the UFC. She's 7-1 overall. She's on a 4-fight win streak. She's the Ultimate Fighter winner. She's still top 10. She's very tough. So it's like, who do you fucking fight? So it's like, oh, Macy stands out. Like she has blinking lights on her because look at everyone in front of her. 2 of them don't want to fight anyone other than the title holder. 2 of them are still injured. 1 of them's scared of Aspen, and then because she doesn't want to deal with that and have her title fight piss away because she's going to get mauled. And then, and then you have Sarah McMahon, who that doesn't even make any sense, right? She's like wins 1, loses 1, loses 2, it doesn't. And then Yana, she already beat. So it's like, oh, Macy, right? And it's still
it's a good fight to come back to. Yeah, like you were saying, because she's ranked, she's coming off a win. Plus, there's a little revenge factor here, if I'm not right? I mean, she just beat Marion, so Aspen can get that one back for the team, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it all just kind of lined up. And Pennington, she's not ranked, but really she should be, because she's not ranked because they removed her because of her banned substance that she took or whatever, her steroid or diuretic or whatever it was. And as far as from what I understand, she was good with fighting Aspen, but she wanted to fight much sooner, and Aspen's not cleared. So It was like, okay, and from what I understand, she's going to fight Yana. So that's a really tough fight for Raquel. I think she's underestimating that greatly.
Yeah, because I think Yana's gotten better since fighting Aspen, and I think if anything, Raquel might have regressed a bit just with the injuries and time off and all that. And plus, I mean, I still think when she lost to Nunes, that took something out of her a lot, I think.
Yeah, and like I said, I just think Raquel is probably underestimating Yana. From what Aspen said, Yana was probably the most physically strong female that she's ever fought. And you know, if Yana just plays that big body type, I'm going to put you on the cage, I'm going to do that kind of stuff, she's going to make it a grueling, ugly, boring type fight and mess around and beat Reneau, you know. So I don't know. It's so Macy made the most sense. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, she's still top 10, right? She's top 10. She's 4-1 in the UFC, or she's 4-0 in the UFC. She lost to no wait.
Lena Landsberg.
Lena Landsberg, right? By decision. So she's 4-1 in the UFC, Ultimate Fighter winner. I mean, it makes perfect sense. So.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Outside looking in, I mean, I get it because you got to stay active with her. I think Macy's a dangerous opponent. She doesn't have sort of the name cachet. I mean, I guess all of them are in that division, but I think Macy in particular, just because, you know, she's someone that, you know, doesn't have a ton of experience, but you just see the improvements every fight. And she's at a great camp. I mean, you know, this Fortis MMA, Safe Saud, they're really, you know, outstanding when it comes to their fighters. So, you know, Safe's got her nice and prepared. So I think it's a good test for both fighters and figuring out where they fit in the division as well. You know, so that's how I look at it in terms of the matchup.
Yeah, Macy presents problems, you know, and challenges like they all do. And we'll exploit the tendencies that she has. And
yeah, no, for sure. All right, so there's that. Also, by the way, if anyone has any questions, you can leave them in the chat here. This is definitely more of an interactive show because we don't have a guest today. We do have a bunch of people. Well, we do have the one question: is Aspen cross training with anyone? Do you want to stick with that? Is there anyone that Aspen's working with? I thought she was doing some boxing rounds last week with who was it? I was trying to remember who it was.
That's Kelsey Wickstrom, pro boxer.
Yeah. Oh, cool. How was that?
That was great. People would have paid money to watch it. It was pretty intense. They're going at it. Very technical, very, very good. I mean, I bring people in, right? I bring only specific looks. So every fight, to answer your question, I bring in specific looks that are what you're going to see in the fight. Too many coaches make mistakes, even the ones at the highest level, and you see their athletes are training, you know, they're in a room with 30 people and they're sparring with them all. Well, guess what? You're not fighting that look. You need to train with that one specific look that you are going to see on fight night. So yeah, we have two very specific partners that I brought in for Aspen, and so yeah, there's cross training. They just come in.
What's the connection? How do you know her? Like, how did you end up linking up with her?
Kelsey, I'm real close with her head coach Marcus. Marcus is actually Song Yadong's head coach, also his boxing coach.
Okay, cool.
And Song cruises in sometimes. So Marcus and I are real close. And Marcus trains a lot of really high level boxers, and Kelsey is a really good, really, really cool girl. She's got her boxing fight coming up in Mississippi at the end of April. She's tall, long, real strong, real crisp. And then the other one that we've trained with often is Joy Pendenhall, which is a jiu-jitsu brown belt. Real tall, she's 5'11", and switches back and forth. So those are our two main training partners this camp. So very thankful for them.
People are wondering, by the way, I am listening to you. I'm just trying to post the link at the same time as you're talking as well, trying to get the promotion out there to get some more people going. But I did want to touch on quickly, because we do have a lot of news. We had the UFC card last weekend. Marvin Vettori predictably getting a win over Kevin Holland, although I did think Holland looked a lot better in the cage. But I actually wanted to talk about that Mackenzie Dern and Nina Nunes fight, formerly Nina Ansaroff. I thought Mackenzie looked great. She's really putting it together at the right time, and I think her working with Jason Perillo has really improved her stand-up and her striking. What did you think of that win? Because Nina has never been finished in the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that her striking has improved some, right? But I think that the biggest, most glaring thing is Mackenzie, and any athlete, but specifically Mackenzie, she's not forgetting who she is. Right? Yes, she's improving in her striking, but she still never forgot what her plan is and where she's better than everyone else at. Right? Yeah, you continue to improve your striking like she has, but if you notice, it was all to set up the one thing to take down and put you into the world in which she's best at. Right? You don't forget and all of a sudden fall in love and think you're a striker when you've been grappling your whole life.
That's your Ronda Rousey, Jim, right? That was her downfall.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying is you can't forget who you are and where you have the glaring advantage. So yes, her striking has gotten better, which it should, right? Over time, you can't help but get better if you're on the mat. But she's not forgetting, and she's sticking to the plan where she's completely outclassing girls, right? And that's what she did. right? And that to me is the more impressive part. Not forgetting, and her coach is keeping her in line and keeping her at the plan. Like, look, yes, you can strike a little bit. You're getting better, but let's not forget who you are. And that to me was probably the more impressive part.
We're a people show. We're going to get to some people questions here on the program. We got Manny Mayer in the chat saying, what's your prediction for a future Aspen Ladd Juliana Pena fight? Well, keep in mind, Jim's going to be biased, of course, but I'm curious to hear how you see a fight between the two of them unfolding.
I think it's one of those fights where it's going to be close quarter combat. You know, Juliana's tough. She's scrappy. So I think it's a very clinchy type game. It's going to be a very tiring, grueling type of fight. But where Juliana thinks she's really good, Aspen is just leaps and bounds better. And that's not being biased. That's just, if Aspen puts a female on their back, they don't get up. Period. End of story. They don't. Most dudes don't get up that are close to her weight. And I've been her grappling coach her whole life. She has an uncanny strength and pressure that, honestly, on both sides of the spectrum, men and women, I've never felt. And I think that's where Juliana will realize that, oh my God, my strength is not. But I do think it'll be a very fun, grueling, nasty, inside clinchy type fight, and that's exactly what Aspen likes.
We also got Kid Kairos in the chat. I hope I'm saying that right. He says, did you already discuss the Conor and Dustin drama? We did not, but we might as well touch on it. So are you up to date on what's happening with Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor?
Yeah, with this the charity thing. I don't know. I mean, that's all. I only know based on what I saw on Twitter, probably the same as you. I mean, it seems like Dustin's pissed, but maybe those two, I don't know, those two may be up to something no good and are talking behind the scenes, and let's stir the shit
That's
up.
what I think. Like, okay, here's my issue with how everyone's been covering this. Like, I saw MMA Fighting did a whole video on, like, the fight's off. The fight's not off until the UFC says it's off, okay? Just because Conor says something. How many times has Conor McGregor retired on Twitter? Handful of times, right? Yeah, you can't take it face value. There's obviously some issues there with Conor paying his debt or whatever. Not debt, but the charity for the fight that they had. I understand that. And Dustin has every right to call him out with that. But do you not know these guys are trying to sell a fight as well? Like, why are we all taking the bait here? Like, that's how I look at this. Until we hear Dana White coming out and saying, yeah, the fight's off, there's an issue here with the charity thing, then we can start writing our stories. But people are already running with this thing. It's like, come on, people. How many times have we been fooled by fighters on Twitter? It's like, the odd, like, every couple months, Henry Cejudo will say, I'm going to come back and I'm going to fight Volkanovski. Well, nothing's signed. We don't have any proof of this. So,
the first time I saw it, I'm like, I don't know. These guys are kind of buddy to an extent. I mean, I'm sure they don't necessarily like each other, but they're friendly. I could see him selling the trilogy, and this is a good way to, spark that. So I'm not saying that's happening, but I don't know. My hackles went up as soon as I saw some of that stuff. I'm like, well, I don't know. It's a little fishy, but.
We'll keep the questions coming as we move along. The other thing I wanted to get your thought on is Jim's favorite fighter, Maycee Barber, is going to be back in action taking on Miranda Maverick. If I
don't dislike her.
I know I never said you did. I'm just poking fun at the situation. But I said this to you when the fight was announced. This looks to me like they're trying to get rid of Maycee Barber. And let me explain why, and then I want to get your thoughts in a second here. You spent all this time building up Maycee, and look, strike while the iron's hot. I don't blame them, right? She won Contender Series. They got her into the UFC. They kept pushing her. She fights Roxy. She loses. Okay. They still feel like, maybe that was just a one-off. Maybe she really did hurt herself. We're going to give her Alexa Grasso in this co-main event spot coming back. They obviously felt like she could, look, maybe it was just a stumbling block. She should probably beat Grasso, even though she was the underdog in that fight. She loses to Grasso decisively. There was I don't think anyone felt like Maycee was on her way to winning.
I don't know why anyone thought she was.
No one would. You get what I'm saying. But anyway, so she lost that fight. Now it looks to me like you're giving her another prospect. Like, if you wanted to salvage everything that you built up with Maycee Barber, you give her a veteran on their way out, right? That's what I would think. If you want to continue the value of Maycee Barber. But what's an easy way to get rid of a prospect? You give them another rising prospect, Miranda Maverick. Miranda Maverick just fought Jillian Robertson. Same deal. Robertson, one fight left on her deal. Miranda beat her. I wouldn't be surprised if Jillian's not with the UFC anymore. I could see the same thing here with Maycee, where they're just like, look, we're going to give you this prospect. We're building her up now. She's the new thing. We're going to let you go. You know what it reminds me of? Paige Van Zandt when she fought Amanda Ribas. You know what the UFC was doing there? They knew Paige was on her way out. We're going to give you our next big thing in Amanda so she can beat you and look even better. I think the same thing's happening here. Your thoughts on that, Jim?
I don't know. I think they like Macy. I think Macy has a lot of potential. Obviously, she's still 25, 24, something in that range. I think Macy's going to be around for quite some time. I mean, I see your point. But if Macy was 35 or 36, maybe, I don't know. She's still so young. Where are they going to boot her out and then bring her back? Like, I don't know. There's still so much life in her. She's still very, very, very talented. She's still learning. I actually think that she has a much better chance of winning this fight than she did the Alexa Grasso or even the Roxanne Modafferi fight.
I agree with that 100%.
And I see your point, though. Let's put her with, a veteran that might be on their way out. I don't think they're going to get rid of Jillian Robertson. I mean, why? She's still a top fighter. So they're still very young.
Why the matchmaking is my question. Why if you like Jillian and you're trying to build her up, because she's still pretty young. She's like 25. Why not give her, why are you matching prospects against prospects? We talked about this before. It's like it's like what they're doing right now with Fluffy and Puna. What are they doing? Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
The UFC is 100% into just making the fight that makes sense at the time, right? Like money, right? It's what do people
in certain cases? See? In certain cases, I would agree. Yes.
Yeah, and that's what it's.
Oh, we lost your sound.
It's gonna make sense right now, right? It doesn't matter what we're thinking where they can be 3 or 4 years from now, but what fight makes sense right now? What fight can still have some hype around it right now? And I don't know. I don't see them getting rid of 24, 25-year-old females that are talented, right? It doesn't make sense. Now, granted, on the flip side of that, I think it's stupid. I don't think you ever put prospects together until prospects meet the pinnacle, right? Like when they become contenders. But I don't know. It's definitely interesting to see.
Yeah, they do at the odd time, like those two examples we just mentioned. But then you have someone like Sean O'Malley, who, for the most part, has been given pretty easy opposition going forward. I think we lost Jim here, but hopefully we'll get him back. But kind of the point I was going to make is that, you see him fighting like a Tyrion Ware and fighting a, who else? Andre Sukumta, these types of fighters where he has an opportunity to, I don't know if you heard what I said there, Jim.
Yeah, I did. Those are appropriate matchups. Even when Sean O'Malley's last fight, when he fought, Almeida, right? Ricardo Almeida, is that who it was?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that fight made sense.
Thomas Almeida. Sorry, Ricardo Almeida is the middleweight.
That fight made sense, right? Like Thomas is good, but he's coming off of like 2 or 3 knockout losses. Like, the good fight for O'Malley, right? So I totally get it. But then they put him in with Cheeto, in the beginning, and ankle or not, like that was just not the right time. Right. I understand like these guys, they got hype and all that kind of stuff, but why? Just let the old dogs beat each other up and get them out of there. They're going to leave anyway. And the UFC is going to boot them anyway. Let's be honest. Yeah. They get to a certain age and they're at their tail end of their contract. If they're not necessarily winning a lot, well, we're seeing it lately. Look at all the people that are being released. Right. I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
That's interesting. By the way, completely unrelated.
I don't think Macy's going anywhere though.
I just thought of this because I wanted to actually get your thoughts.
I invite Macy out, by the way. Macy, if you're ever listening, you could come out and you can train with Aspen. She's
I'll put in a good word. I reached out to her this weekend. I'm going to try and get an interview with her soon here. So I'll see if I can put the good word in there. It's a little bit of a flight from Chicago, but make it happen. No, what I was going to mention there quickly, and then we'll get to some more news. I spoke to Tyler Diamond yesterday. Have you ever worked with Tyler? He's a Team Alpha Male guy.
No, I think Dave, our manager at one point, might have helped him out a little bit, but I definitely know who it is.
Anyways, reason I bring it up, I spoke to him yesterday. So you know what's going on with PFL right now? Like they have to do this crazy quarantine. So Tyler was telling me, and I knew this already, but just to hear it from his perspective.
19 days or some shit?
Yeah, so it's 17 days, I think. And then on top of that, if you want your corner, so you have 2 options with your corner. Your corner either does the 17 days with you, which doesn't make a lot of sense because, you don't want to be with someone like that's a lot to ask for someone to just go corner for 17 days. It's a lot. Yeah. You're away from your family, whatever. It's either that or you get your corner 3 days before, which means your corner can't help you cut weight.
I think you go 3 days before because
Well,
you're
no.
cutting weight.
That's what Tyler's doing. But he was explaining to me that he basically has to cut a good chunk of his weight by himself, which sucks, right? And he's by himself for 17 days away from his family. Like that's
That
tough,
part,
man.
yes.
Like,
but the weight cut, the acute weight cut, James, if you were weighing in on Friday, the acute
Mhm.
weight cut doesn't even happen until Thursday. So his coaches will
Right.
be there. So
Right.
3 days before, if the fight's on Wednesday, that means they can get their Wednesday. Or I mean, fight's on Saturday, they can get their Wednesday, right? Perfect. Perfect timing.
yeah.
But
No,
17
okay, I
days,
understand
like
it.
being out there by himself for 14 days of that's gonna suck ass.
Well, here's the worst part. So, well, not the worst part. So, one of the only people he can train with right now is some of the other PFL guys. So he was training a bit with Lance Palmer, who used to train at Alpha Male.
Oh, yeah.
But here's the
Yeah.
thing: they might fight each other. So I asked him that. I said, like, how is it training with someone that you potentially could be fighting in this tournament? He's like, well, we haven't talked about it, but it's kind of like an unwritten rule. Like, we'll see what happens. But that's got to be weird. I mean, look, I get it; they have to follow the regulations, but I feel for these fighters that they have to go through that because that's a lot.
That is the most horrendous, stupid thing I've ever heard.
We could do a whole
17
podcast on
days.
COVID, Jim.
Come on.
Yeah, no, I agree. Another question, then we'll get to
17
some more
days,
news.
like, yeah, you're just taking it overboard.
Nick Juarez says, who should Mackenzie Dern fight next? I'm going to be interviewing Mackenzie later today. Got a hold of her manager last night. I think there's two options. I think you do Ioana and Jacek, who doesn't have an opponent. Is that too soon for Mackenzie? Maybe, but at least we figure out where she belongs. And two, Marina Rodriguez, the girl who beat Amanda Hebus. She's without an opponent as well. You could either match up Joanna and Marina, which I think would make sense.
Who's the top 10
Well,
right now?
So that's what I'm looking at right now. So if you look at the top 10 right now at strawweight, let's play matchmaker, Jim. Weili Zhang, the champ. Rose number 1. Ioana and Jacek number 2. Yan Zonan number 3, but she's fighting Carla. So 3 and 4 are fighting each other. You got Mackenzie at 5. You got Marina Rodriguez at 6. She just beat Nina Nunes at 7. Claudia Gadea, I guess, would be another option, but then it's like Dern just beat someone that's ranked higher than Claudia. You got Michelle Watterson. That you could do the battle of the mums there. And Tisha Torres, that's the top 10. So what do you do, matchmaker, Jim?
Yeah, I think for sure it goes back to what you and I were just talking about. Mackenzie's a prospect. Let's build her appropriately. I think she fights someone like a Claudia Gadella, who is a former title challenger, still in the top 10, but not necessarily. She's older, right? She's not on the way in. Let's say she's not coming into her prime. She's probably on the tail end of that. I think that's a perfect matchup for Mackenzie. I think Michelle Watterson's a tougher fight than Claudia, even though she's ranked lower. And then who's the other one after that?
We had let me just look here. So we had
number 10 or something.
Number 10 was Tisha Torres.
Yeah, I mean, and Tisha, I think that would be good one. But I think Claudia Gadella makes the most sense. I like Claudia's awesome. I think she's great. But as far as if you're playing matchmaker and you're playing UFC and Mackenzie's the prospect and we want to build her up just a little more, I think Claudia Gadella is the right matchup. I think the ones in front of her, for one, they're already booked. I don't necessarily like the Marina Rodriguez fight. However, it does play into her style if she stays within herself and who she is with takedowns and such. I think she can get her down. But I like that Claudia Gadella fight because I think it adds more clout, right? She's number 8 or whatever, but she's a former title challenger. She's very well known. I think that's a great fight for her. But
well, she's 28. She's already lost to Hebus, right? So it's like the sort of the allure of her being undefeated is gone. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world for her to fight Joanna, just to see where she's at. Is she ready for those top fighters? If you can beat a Ioana and Jacek, the reward from that is huge. If she loses, it's already kind of muddled at the top anyways. I don't think it would set her back. So I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I do see what you're saying about continuing to build her up because they obviously, like she was on this main card on ABC. They obviously like her and they want to continue to push her, right?
What's going on with Jacek? I mean, that girl's not even fighting anymore. She's more interested in her boobs than anything else.
Well, Jim, we're not gonna go there, but I think that
true.
she she hasn't fought in a while. She's like, someone I actually. Well, I don't know. Like, I don't know why she hasn't got. Like, I don't know. That's someone I should actually. She's on my list of fighters I need to get in touch with because I honestly don't know what the deal is. I thought she would have fought Jan, the girl who's fighting Claudia, or they could have done the Claudia rematch. Yeah. Imagine all that years later to see where they're at because that was a beatdown. You remember that first fight?
Yeah,
it was crazy. Claudia was never the same. Didn't look the same after that. Or sorry, not Claudia. Carla Esparza. That's what I'm getting mixed up. Carla Esparza. They should do the rematch with her and Joanna. Yeah, but that's what I was thinking. That was the beatdown.
Maybe if Carla wins, they'll do that.
They could, but either way, it's been more than a year since Jan Jacek fought, so we'll see what happens there. A bit of news as well that we wanted to touch on. We've got this Ben Askren and Jake Paul fight. We might as well talk about that. Are you going to be watching that, Jim, on Saturday?
Oh, God. No, I will not be watching that.
I'm going to watch it. I'm intrigued by it. I'm very interested.
Oh, I don't care one bit. I'll watch the
But isn't there an
UFC,
intrigue factor? Because Askren's striking, isn't great, and he's fighting a guy who he's beat 2 non-combat sports guys. Like, there is an intrigue to see what happens. Like, a lot of people are saying that Paul's going to knock him out. I don't know if that's the case. If Ben Askren can take a Robbie Lawler punch, could he not take a Jake Paul punch? I don't know.
Maybe, I'm one of those opposites.
You're an old school guy. You're showing.
I'll look at Twitter and be like, okay.
Watch my live stream. I'll be doing a because listen, I'm striking while the iron's hot. Everything this week is trending towards Askren and Paul. Like anything that I've done, Askren Paul wise has been great view wise. Even just there was a guy. Do you know? Actually, you probably wouldn't know him because he trains over at the Body Shop. Anthony Taylor fights in Bellator. He went and flew down to.
One of my guys fought Anthony many years ago. One of my guys.
Who fought him?
Dylan Moore, one of my guys. Anthony Taylor beat him in a local pro show. I don't remember one.
Anyways, Anthony flew to Florida last week. I don't know if you know this, to spar Jake Paul. I'm interviewing him today to hear how it went. They didn't film anything. It happened, but he had the photo with Jake and everything. Like, it actually took place. So I'm curious to see what happened in that. But even that interview, which is with Anthony Taylor, is not even like a big deal. That did crazy views just because he's sparring Jake Paul. People are intrigued by it.
You know who sparred him too was Marcus Perez in the UFC, and he made a statement after the sparring session. This guy's not a fighter.
Who, Perez sparred Jake Paul?
Yeah.
Oh, did he? Oh, I didn't know that.
There was a picture on social media. Marcus Perez posted his picture after sparring with him, and in quotes he said, "Jake Paul's not a fighter."
Frank, you were wrong. I'm not a Jake fan. He's accusing me of being a Jake Paul fan. I'm not a Jake Paul fan. I'm actually picking Askren in the fight. I think he can win this.
Good. Yes, I agree with you. Yes, he's a Jake Paul fan. Look at that. I'm gonna ride that bandwagon too.
We got Kid Kairos again in the chat. He says, thoughts on open scoring system that has been implemented in Kansas City, and Victor and LFA has used it so far. I don't see the issue with it. What's your thoughts? Open scoring.
The issue with it all. Why not?
Well, some people say that then fighters will coast, but I think a fighter would rather know if they were up or not. Like, I don't know. I think why not? The fighter should be aware of how they're scoring the fight, because what if there's a bogus decision and you don't?
Fighters do that anyway.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
I mean, fighters do that regardless, because their corners are, they may tell them, and if you're truly winning really easily, like, you kind of know, but why not? I mean, I think it promotes that sense of urgency. Like, oh shit, I'm down 2 rounds. I have to go. And when you truly know you're down 2 rounds, and now the guy or girl is going to come out, guns blazing, right? I think it's a good thing. I don't see any detriment to it.
No, I'm with you there. We're both team open scoring for sure. By the way, I missed this in the chat from our producer. She says, talking about the Dana White selling off his shares for $4 billion with the U.S. So I'm assuming Dana's still in charge of the UFC, but he's just not a shareholder anymore.
Yeah, because I can't think. I always forget. Is it IMG?
I think it's Endeavor,
IMG,
right?
Endeavor.
Yeah, WME IMG or something.
Okay. Yeah, they own 100%. So Dana's just kind of an employee.
But see, people are like, does that mean Dana's going to leave? I think they would have to kick him out before he leaves. Dana seems too attached to this. Do you get that sense as well, Jim?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but I mean, it definitely you can see how now there could be an argument, right, for the fact that he may leave at some point. I think he's the face of it, right? And I think that's why what is it?
WME, IME, not WWF.
Endeavor.
This isn't pro wrestling.
But them being 100% owners, you know how things sometimes happen when companies take over completely. Now going public and people being able to buy shares. You never know. You never know. What I could see is weird things happening with, like, maybe matchmakers getting bounced, and like these companies bringing in their own people, and because it does happen. You see it all the time. With companies when they start doing, they bring in their guys or their girls. I'm not saying it's necessarily a good thing, but you do see it sometimes historically when companies do these things.
For sure. We'll be keeping tabs on it. But like I said, I think Dana White, they'd have to like fire him or kick him out of the building with security, like pulling him out of the building for him to like leave
Yeah,
the UFC. It just
yeah,
seems too attached. That's
yeah,
that's my call on it. The Venom gear, we
yeah,
haven't talked about this at all.
yeah.
So they unveiled the new Venom gear on the last card. I think it looks like the Reebok stuff a little bit, other than they just added some fangs. Amanda's saying she doesn't like, our producer says she doesn't like the men's ones. What's your thoughts on the clothing? Because you wear them. I'm sure you've got them already, right?
I don't have them yet. I've seen them in person because when Max fought last, they had some kind of mock-ups to kind of look at.
Mhm.
They're similar to Reebok. The one thing I will say is they're actually much like nicer. I like the material. They're
Yeah.
more form-fitting than the Reebok stuff.
Mhm.
They're more contour to your body. So in that aspect, it's kind of cool. I mean, we haven't seen it all. I mean, the fight kit, as far as the ones that the fighters are wearing, they look very similar to the Reebok stuff.
Yeah.
But
Which I don't know why
I
they wouldn't
guess
try
it's
something a
hard to-
bit different. I don't know. I never was a fan of the Reebok stuff. I thought it looked very generic. It looked like you're just going to a CrossFit meet or something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Reebok's such a was such a big CrossFit company anyway, so I guess
Mhm.
that kind of makes sense. But they are a little bit more sleek looking, and
Mhm.
when you put them on,
They look better. They're
a
an
little bit
improvement,
more.
but not the type of improvement I was hoping for.
Yeah.
Like I don't get why they
Yeah.
don't have like clearly like they don't clearly have the fighter's last name like pointed out on the back. Like you remember the Reebok
Yeah, I
one it
don't
was
know
like
why
down
not.
the
Yeah,
side and it looked whatever. Like brand that's an easy way for branding. Like, imagine like a cool
yeah, I
looking
like
like
that.
bright colors like for, let's say like for Aspen, there's an example. You get like a
Yeah,
purple denim shirt that's got like a cool design on the front, and then you got like Ladd on the back, like that, like you would with those
yeah,
jerseys, as I call them, with like other sports. Like you see people wearing like a
yeah,
Lakers, like LeBron James shirt. Same thing. You could do that
yeah.
for fighters. They would sell like hotcakes. I'm
Absolutely,
telling you, Jim.
absolutely.
So
No, I
that's all I gotta
agree.
say.
I agree totally.
Yeah,
But I
they
guess
need.
I guess we'll see. I mean, I think maybe it'll be an evolution. As
Mhm.
far as what they, because it could change right over time.
Yeah,
So we'll see. I guess though, right?
yeah. No, we'll see what happens
I
there.
like them.
What
I
else
know
we got?
Amanda's probably biased because she doesn't like the fit. Amanda doesn't like the fit, I think.
I have to see them up
But I'm
close. I
telling
haven't
you,
seen them.
Amanda, if
I've just seen what we saw on
you're
TV.
listening,
So.
Amanda, they're a little bit more form fitting. Yeah, maybe they'll come out with
Um,
some more vibrant colors. They'll listen.
We've got a UFC card this weekend. We'll talk about just the two fights that sort of stand out to me. We've got the main event: Robert Whitaker, Calvin Gastelum. Fight was supposed to take place February 2019. Whitaker gets the hernia. He's out. Gastelum fights Adesanya, loses the interim title. Gastelum, Adesanya goes on to be the champ, ends up beating Whitaker, and now here we are. It was supposed to be Darren Till and Whitaker. Gastelum steps in. Who you like in this Saturday? Because Whitaker's the favorite.
It's hard for me to pick against Whitaker,
Mhm.
but Gastelum's a top tier fighter, man. I
Oh,
mean,
he
he's a
is. Yeah.
top tier fighter. Uh, he's got all the skills to go win that fight. I mean, we saw probably one of the better fights of our time when he fought Adesanya, right? I mean, that was
And he
insane.
dropped Adesanya in that fight.
How much did that take out of him? I don't know. He did. So I don't know. I got to go with Whitaker. I think he has just a little bit more athleticism, a little bit more ways to win than Gastelum. But I think it has potential of being a great fight. I do.
Yeah, I really like Whitaker in this fight. For me, it's a couple things. Number one, Rob's only looked bad in one fight since moving up to middleweight years ago, and that was against Adesanya. And that was a fight where you could kind of tell he was, coming off the injury, maybe a little burnt out. I kind of give him a pass for that. And you got to be on your A game if you're fighting Adesanya. So Adesanya took advantage, got the win, whatever. Since then, though, he's beat Darren Till. He looked good in that fight. He beat Darren decisively. And then he beat Cannonier.
Yeah.
And I know Cannonier hurt his hand in that one, but still, that's a good win. I know a lot of people saying Cannonier's going to knock him out. That didn't happen. Whereas Gastelum, yeah, he looked great in the last fight against Ian Heinisch. But prior to that, Jack Hermanson submitted him in the first round. Darren Till beat him by decision in a fight where Gastelum had every advantage to win that fight. Remember, Till came in at the last minute. That was the New York card, the BMF title fight.
Yep.
Till literally came in like the day before, had to cut all this weight and still beat Gastelum. It's like, and Gastelum almost missed weight. Remember that? And middleweight, which is crazy.
That's true.
I think Gastelum has the potential to be great. I just, to me, Rob's been more consistent, and you don't just go out there and beat a UL Romero twice. Like, he's a very good fighter. So I think Rob wins this Saturday pretty decisively.
Yeah, I think he's got more ways to win. Yeah, I think he's a little more athletic, he's got a little more speed, a few more ways to win, a few more intangibles.
And then the co-main events are really
turned into be one of them players.
Yeah, it could for sure. Yeah, no, I agree with that. The co-main event is an interesting one. Jeremy Stevens moving back up to lightweight for the first time since I think 2012, taking on Drakkar Klose at lightweight. Stevens is the favorite. Who do you like in that
Didn't
fight?
Drakkar fight the last time? Didn't Drakkar drop to 45 before?
No, he hasn't. No,
No? Okay.
he talked about in my interview dropping down to 45. Maybe that's what you saw.
Okay.
No, he got Drakkar's last fight was the Dariush fight where he got knocked out for the first time in his career.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I don't know. I'm going to go with a little heathen on this one.
Okay.
I think he's going to pull it out. I think
California bias. I get it.
Jumping up is not going to hurt him.
No, it won't. I think
jumping
Stevens
up
will look better.
I think it helps him.
Yeah. I understand that. I'm actually going the other way on this one, and here's my reasoning, and I'm curious to get your thoughts. So I think that it's not even the weight thing. It's more the fact that Stevens has taken a lot of damage over those last couple fights. And listen, he's probably had one of the toughest runs in the UFC in his last 5 fights. Listen to this: Jose Aldo, Zabit, Yair twice, and Calvin Kattar. Doesn't get much tougher than that. And that's definitely better than any of the guys that Drakkar's fought in the last little bit outside of maybe Dariush. But the thing is, yes, he's only been finished, I think, well, he was finished technically 3 times. The first Yair fight was an eye poke. But still, that's a lot of damage to take over that last, 5 fights. Whereas Drakkar just got the one knockout. I feel like if Drakkar can, outmuscle Stevens and neutralize that stand-up, I think he has a chance to win this. That's why I think that's why I'm actually picking Drakkar in this case. I think it's a case of where Stevens, even though he's only, how old is he? He's 34. I mean, that wear and tear does add up. I feel like Drakkar might be catching him.
Think about the wear and tear. It's not just the last 5 fights. Jeremy's been around forever.
Yeah, made his debut. He fought Dean Thomas in his debut. You remember that? Yeah. 2007 was when he made his UFC debut.
Yeah, right. And so he's been fighting prior to that, right? So, and the gym wars that guy's been in, because he came from that type of era, I mean, it's rough. But I still got to go with Jeremy. Still going with him.
What else do we have as far as other news going on? So that's the UFC card this weekend. What other fights do we got on the docket here? What do you think of this? We haven't really discussed this yet. What do you think of this Dillashaw and Corey Sandhagen fight? That's kind of interesting.
Well, they've trained together, right, for quite some time, or they did.
Yeah, they used to.
I know there's some animosity there. I think there's some animosity there. I mean,
not really. I talked to Corey. There's a decent amount of respect there, I think, between the two of them. From speaking to Corey recently.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see. But TJ can be awful arrogant, so I could see how, Corey might have some animosity towards him. They've talked about their training sessions a little bit. It's definitely intriguing. I think it's a very difficult fight actually for TJ to come back to. After the layoff. I'm not saying that the layoff is something like there's cage rust or anything like that. I just think that's a difficult fight to come back to, right? I've seen many other fights that probably would have made, that could have been better for TJ, but TJ's trying to jump right back into title contention. So he goes and beats Corey, he might get it, right? So
yeah, no, I agree. I think I don't know how TJ's going to look. I mean, you've been off this long.
I do want to see. Yeah. The fight I want to see TJ and Peter Yan.
Well, we'll see. Did you hear the latest with Aljamain Sterling? He now apparently is going to get surgery for his neck, and he might be out 9 months. So I think he might. I don't know. I think they might have to do an interim title if he's going to be out that long. I would think. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean they might. I don't know. You know what I mean? Especially and it's different, right? Because his championship status obviously is arguable.
Here's what would have saved everyone the headache, because I know where you're going with this, and I've dealt with because I interviewed Aljo 2 weeks ago, and I've everyone's disliking the video. They hate Aljamain Sterling. I get it. This whole thing would have been solved if he didn't get the belt. That's all they had to do. They could have given him the win with the DQ, or even just called it a no contest and not given him the belt, and it would have saved him a ton of grief. It's crazy how much people hate this guy.
Well, the thing is it's a weird rule, right? I like Aljamain. He's a good dude, but it's a weird rule, that. I think it should have just been a DQ or no contest. Peter Yan keeps the belt. It's an automatic rematch.
No, I don't know about keeping the belt, man. He did something illegal.
Why would he lose it? If illegal or not, he still didn't lose. You got to remember.
Just make the title vacant.
Out of Aljamain Sterling.
It's no different. To me, this is no different than Davison Figueiredo missing weight against Benavidez, and the title was vacant. So Davison beat Benavidez. but then the title was vacant. I don't think there's any issue with that. Jan's the one who did the illegal knee, not Aljamain Sterling. So that's why I think he to some
did,
degree
but it
should
could
be
have
punished.
just been. He did, but it's like a lot of other things. You keep it. You just have to fight for it again, right? Like why? I don't know.
I think it sets a bad precedent. Then who's to say that? Well, then if you're a champion, let's say you're losing a fight, you could poke someone in the eye, the fight ends, and then you keep your belt. How's that fair?
Yeah, but the thing is they're going to fight anyway. So why is it's vacant now? I don't know. It doesn't to me, it doesn't make any sense, but it is what it is. There's arguments all over the place for whatever.
I just think the title should have been vacant. That's all. Or they should have just made it a no contest.
And when did that fight? Yeah, and when did that? But my thing is when did the illegal knee happen? Wasn't that like the 4th round?
It was like the 3rd. Here, let me bring it up here. I think it was the 3rd round. I mean, clearly Jan was on his way to winning that fight. You saw the tide turning. It was 4th round.
Right. So how come it just didn't go to the scorecards? Like for an illegal eye poke, like you get an illegal eye poke and the guy can't continue.
Yeah, see, I'm fine with that too. I'm fine with that too. If Jan was up and it ended like that, and they decided that he was winning the rounds, then okay, I can understand it from that perspective. But I don't think, like, let's say that knee happened in the 1st round, you can't just give the champ the belt. He does something illegal.
Well,
I don't agree with that.
But then, okay, I could see that. But it was in the 4th round. It should have went
right. So okay, fine. I'll listen. I'll meet you halfway there. We will come to some agreement here. They should have gone to the scorecards, then added it up, and then if they felt like Jan, then Jan Perda won the belt. So maybe you're right there. Okay, fine. I'll give you some credit here. That's good logic because it was a late finish. But I just don't like. I don't like the fact. Like I think
winning. I mean, it was
like I don't even think the UFC realizes how much like hate Aljamain Sterling's getting, and you don't want that in a champion. They should have just not made they should have not given him the belt, and he should have not posted with the belt after.
You know how the UFC is weird, right? They depending on who it is, they'll do interims, right? Like, and I don't know if the UFC is all that high on Aljamain Sterling, right? Oh yeah, he's a champion, but I don't know if they're that high. But like Amanda Nunes, she could not fight for 2 or 3 years, and they won't do an interim because
they don't have a choice. Like, who else are they gonna? I think with Sterling, it's. I mean, you know that they were almost going to screw Sterling over. Do you remember that when Marlon Moraes fought Sandhagen? You know, if Marlon won that fight, he was going to get the title shot.
Oh yeah,
because that's why they delayed announcing that fight. I think, and wasn't it interesting that the second Sandhagen wins, oh, we got Sterling and Jan booked. It's all good to go. But like, we didn't hear anything before that. So, and that's that's also Marlon's manager working his magic behind the scenes, right?
Who is that? Ali?
Yeah,
is that Ali?
Favorite manager?
Oh God! Yeah.
Guy who's gonna get Cody Garbrandt a title shot for winning 1 fight in his last 3. I didn't agree with that either, but that's a whole other discussion for another day. What else we got as far as news? Oh, we got producer Amanda blowing things up here. Dan Ige fighting Korean Zombie. I like that fight. That's a good matchup. Congrats, by the way, Dan, if you're watching. Yeah, Ige's super nice guy.
Dan Ige's awesome, dude. The guy's awesome. Class act.
What do you make of him? By the way, I mean, we'll talk about the matchup in a second. What do you make of him? I don't know if you saw this, but so he was working for Ali at Dominance, like being like a manager there. And then he's also repped by Brian Butler, but now apparently he's with no one. Like he doesn't work for Ali anymore and he doesn't be repped by Butler. So I don't know if he's managing himself. I'm not sure what the deal is. Did you see that post he had? This was a couple weeks ago.
No, I had no idea. So so Dan is doing his own thing now.
I believe so. That's what the post looked like. He was like thanking Brian Butler and then he was thanking Ali for working for him. And I think he's starting his own management company.
Maybe. Oh, okay. And maybe Eric is just looking after him right now.
Could be, yeah.
Coach, I don't know.
I just think the timing's weird because, like, dude, you're on the cusp of potentially fighting for a title, and now you're ditching your management. That seems kind of counterproductive.
Let's talk about this. Because I have a bone to pick. Yeah,
let's hear it. With me?
You brought up the management stuff.
Okay, perfect. Let's dive into it.
No. Fighters, this is the disclaimer. This is a disclaimer for you. All fighters, you guys should all be listening to this.
Sure.
If you are paying a manager and you're already in the UFC, any more than 5% to do your contract, you are an idiot. It is not a job of 20% or 15%.
Well, 20, no, of course not 20.
That's not even close. It's not even close. Think about this. You're going to pay, because there's some managers out there, a lot of them, the higher ones that everyone knows, that still charge their clients 15 and 20%.
Yeah.
Guess what? You are overpaying tremendously for absolutely nothing. And secondly, remember, you still have three coaches and corners that you're paying. You're
Yeah.
telling me you're going to go ahead and pay a manager to do a contract, which I've seen them. It's not 15 or 20% work. It's 5. Then you're going to pay this coach, and this coach, say 5%. You're gonna end up paying 30 to 35% for what?
I agree, but
It's
okay,
insane.
okay. I'm with you on the 20%. 10% though. Listen to this: if your manager can get you good fights with whatever persuading them, the UFC matchmaker, because we've seen it. There's a lot of politics involved in this industry, and certainly there's some managers that are
James,
good at.
But there is. But
I can tell you right
now,
there's certain fighters that would. There. Okay, a couple things I'll say to that. Number one, I know for a fact there's certain fighters who would have not got signed to the UFC if it weren't for their management. So there's that. Number two,
but
well,
James,
I guess you're saying already in the UFC.
There.
What's that?
Not just the UFC. Not just the UFC. I've been in this thing for 17 years. I've been behind the scenes now more than most people can imagine. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, there's a ton of managers out there that have the in with the UFC, that have relationships just as good as anyone else you might think. Mm-hmm. And to pay any more, I'll give you 10%, maybe. But if you pay any more than 10%, and the vast majority of you guys are, because I know, I've seen it, I've talked to them, I know. It's insane to do that. It's insane. The UFC doesn't care who your manager is.
We're agreeing here. I'm with you on the 10% thing. It should be 10% or nothing. But I just think there's two things where a manager can come in handy. Number one, if your manager has a proven track record of getting you good fights. And two is sponsorships. A lot of managers don't get sponsorships, and that's where you should ditch your manager, because if you're not getting any income outside of the
zero sponsorships.
Oh, that's not true. Not at all. I've seen fighters they're getting paid sponsorships.
Not anymore, James. Not
there
anymore.
Is Jim. You're wrong
not
on this. Trust me.
James. No, there's not. No, there's not. You're not. Okay, now you're talking about $1,000 here or there. That's not sponsorships in what you're talking about. Post Reebok, before Reebok, guys were getting $20, $30, $40, $50,000. Happened every day.
I know.
Trust me.
I know.
I just talked to one of Malki Kawa's best guys who just left him. And my question to him yesterday was, hey, does Malki ever get any sponsorships? His answer was absolutely not. Sponsorships do not exist like they once did. Unless you're the champion, they do not exist. You can get $500 here for a month. Maybe you're getting a $500 sponsorship every month for the next year, $1,000 here or whatever. But it is tremendous legwork to get that. I mean, you got to remember who we manage. We manage every fighter at Alpha Male and every fighter at MMA Gold. There's 30 fighters that are in the UFC. I'm telling you right now, sponsorships aren't what they once were. They're just not.
I never said they were. I'm still saying, though, if you're getting money in as a sponsor, that's still something a manager can do.
Yeah, yes, there's some, yes, but any manager can get that. Any manager that is halfway good and has been in the game for any amount of period of time and has had athletes in the UFC, they all have those connections. If a guy tells you, hey, I'm going to sign you, I can go and get you, because they do it. I know it because I've seen the text.
Oh, I know. There's 100
I'll get you
snake oil salesmen.
20 grand. If you sign with me, I'll get you 20 grand in sponsorships. You're so full of shit, it's up to your eyeballs.
I'm with you there.
Or I can get you a ton of product sponsors. That's horseshit. Like that, you got to be real. Like the sponsorships that they once were. If any manager is telling you they can go out and get you $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, they're full of shit, because it doesn't exist. Now, granted, you can go and get 50 different sponsors and it might add up to that eventually.
That's what I'm referring to. Yeah.
But it's so hard, and and even that, it's so difficult to get those nowadays that, I mean, there are some fighters that get some, but it's not the way it used to be. So because of that, if you're paying 20% or 15% to a manager, you're stupid, because they're not bringing that type of money back to you. If I'm giving you 20% or 15% of what I make, you have to be bringing me back at least that. And
I agree.
Doesn't work.
Listen, no disagreement here, Jim. I'm with you there on the 10%. There's some that do.
It just makes me so mad. It makes me so mad.
That manager I just mentioned that we just talked about.
Yeah,
I don't know a single one of their clients that have a major sponsorship or a sponsorship period. You just don't hear about it. So that's where I agree with you there. Now, does that manager get them good fights? Yes.
Now, granted, you have people like Amanda. You have people like Amanda, our producer. Shout out to Amanda. If you are athletes in the UFC and you actually want someone to do that work and do it very, very well and have the ability to get those sponsors, over time, incremental sponsors. She's a lady to talk to. You're going to pay, you got to pay, pay to play. But, that it can add up. It just doesn't exist like it once did. So if you're paying 15 or 20%, you're losing money because you're not getting anything in return. Whereas, okay, if I'm going to pay you 15, 20% and you can go and get me, $20,000 up front in sponsorship money, well, okay, cool. Now my pay and my contracts and all that kind of stuff, it's just not it's not a 15 or 20% job. At most, I can buy 10%.
Mm-hmm.
At most, because you got to think about you're paying your coaches too.
Well, it's
in
true.
my
And you know
opinion,
what?
a fighter should never pay more than 20%. Period. It combined. That's my opinion. But
That's my opinion as well. I don't know if you're hearing me loud and clear, but I'm with you here. I'm with you. 10% or nothing.
Yeah.
That I'm with you there. That's also why a lot of the women fighters, I don't know if you've noticed, Jim, have OnlyFans accounts because they're making a killing on there.
Yeah.
Like Jessica I and
it's just they're like, it's just like, and it's no different, man. When I played baseball and stuff, the agents and stuff. I mean, look, I'll just be honest.
But to be fair, in those sports though, in baseball and some of those other sports, they have established like big agencies. You don't see a lot of that in MMA. There's a few, like there's CAA and there's a few.
You're very
like
right. I'm just saying
it's the Wild West out there. Some of these managers,
come across
it's crazy.
These managers, yeah, they're just shysters, man. They're like used car salesmen. It just pisses me off. But that's the thing that makes me the most mad. It just makes me mad. Like,
I'll tell you what pisses me off from a media perspective.
About the athlete.
Yeah. So there's one manager that we spoke about here today. I don't think I need to say him anymore, but they've gone out of their way to make sure that I can't get interviews out of a personal grudge with me, which is ridiculous. I think I've told you about this anyways, but even to the point of where there's a fighter that was on a Bellator card last week who's not even like a popular fighter.
What fighter are you trying to? What fighters? What fighters?
We're talking like this is okay. I'll tell you this exact story, and I'll tell you off air exactly who it is. But I don't want to air out anyone's laundry here. But there was a fighter last week on the Bellator prelims who I've interviewed for years and I have a good relationship with. He would not do an interview with me because he was afraid of his manager getting mad at him for doing the interview because of a personal grudge that his manager has with me. And it's me. I don't have any grudges with anyone.
Yeah,
that's how it is. And to me, that's bad management.
It's bad.
It's terrible.
There's no integrity. Where's the integrity?
And that's not looking out for your client, because regardless of what you think of the person, if you're still getting exposure and, I have a decent following, it's silly to, especially because here's the thing, your top tier clients, they're already popular. They know that they can pick and choose who they want to do interviews with, but your lower level fighters, they need more media exposure because guess what? The promotion's not doing a great job of getting your name out there as it is. So why not get that extra exposure? That's the issue I have with some management companies. And there's some that just make it impossible to interview their clients. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. My mind is it's the lack of integrity. You know what I mean? How many times Aspen or Fluffy or Max or Andrea, they get emails from,
Coach.
Whether it's, and they send emails. Oh, I can do. It's like, dude, are you guys that fucking stupid? Like, are you that dumb, management companies that doing that? You know that they're with someone. You can't do anything more. Just shut your mouth. Have some integrity, or it's just amazing to me. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's the Wild West out there. I agree with that. By the way, we have a comment in the chat from Kid Kairos who says this segment is brought to you by Monster Energy. Have you ever had any dealings with Hans Molenkamp and that whole thing? Because that's really getting exposed now about what a kind of a jerk that guy's been to some of the people that Monster sponsors, right? You saw the whole Dominic Cruz thing with that. You don't know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't. I know what you're talking about, but I've never had any dealings.
Oh, you never had to deal with him? Okay, yeah. Well, that's probably good because this guy just sounds like telling fighters, "Hey, you got to post with a photo with me." It's not a good look. That guy's stock's gone down big time. And good on Cruz for speaking out, because I bet there's so many other fighters out there who've had to deal with this as well, and they're just not as known and no one's listened to them. But Cruz made a point in his post-fight interview to get this guy on blast, which I thought was good. So kind of along the lines of what we're thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the sad part about it is in MMA, there's so much shadiness that goes on. It's sad though, you know what I mean? And it's like, it sucks. The lack of integrity and honesty is just brutal. That's the part that, if there's one thing that I hate about MMA, it's that, the managers, rubbing shoulders with certain people and, doing this and, it's just bad. Like, have some integrity, run it like a bit, you know, a straight up business, friend or not. Look, I'm going to run it. I'm going to do this. This is why. And you can keep yourself away from all those things. I don't know. It's just bad.
Well, no, I'm with you there. And I think even from a media's perspective, giving you my perspective, you can see certain media members tweet out certain things or put certain news out there because a manager's kind of, you know, hey, do this and I'll give you some access. I see that a lot too. And that's bullshit.
Yeah.
That's not journalism. That's you're not a journalist. You're a PR machine.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Like that's
my biggest beef is just have some integrity.
Exactly.
That's all I have.
We need more people like you, Jim, and me.
But
I guess that makes sense. We got about 5 minutes left. If you guys have any questions, get them in the chat here as well. We got Dino in the chat. By the looks of it, good to hear from Dino. What else do we got?
Dino.
We got Amanda was just mentioning that a lot of the fighters are making money off social media posts, which I know Uriah Faber was doing that for a while. Like he would just get paid to post things.
Yeah, you can. I'm certain, right? But they're incremental, right? So you have to really. It's not like I said before. It wasn't that hard to go. If you were on a main card and you were going to be, you know, seen on TV, it wasn't all that hard to get people to pay big dollars to put all their stuff all over your banners and your shorts and all that kind of stuff, right? But now it's hard. Like that's why I'm saying that the sponsorship money, there is some out there, but it's really hard to get, and you really have to pound the pavement, and it's incremental, you know, over. You know, it's not like it was. And for these guys to just say, look, man, sign with me and I'll get you this. Like, you're such a liar. It just makes me mad, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. What else do we got? What's going on with you the rest of the week? What's on the agenda?
Nothing. I'm gonna throw a little teaser out there. Amanda, don't get mad at me, but I won't give up too much information. There's 4 of us that are working on something pretty fun and big. You guys will
I know
hear
what this
about
is.
it soon. It is in the MMA. It is in the MMA world. Myself and Amanda and Dave and Uriah Faber are doing something pretty big. So soon everyone will find out, but we're really excited about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be real successful, especially with the 4 of us that are doing it. It's going to be fun. But yeah.
Since we have a couple minutes left and we don't have any questions coming in, I want to tell you about these new golf clubs I got. I know I'm going to bore half the audience here, but this is actually a pretty cool story. So as you know, I bought a pair of used clubs at the beginning of the year, and I was happy with them, and they're great. But everything I've done research-wise has said, if you can get these, every now and then Costco will sell this 10-piece set of Callaways, which are like super good value, and for what you're getting, it's like amazing, right? And who wouldn't want new clubs? And they're like the same price as what I paid for these used clubs. So anyways, my buddy Jeremy Brand, who owns MMA Saka, who I do some work for every couple months, a good friend of mine, lives close to me. He bought a pair, and I was like, man, like he's like, how many were in stock? And he's like, oh, they were all sold out. I got one of the last ones. I said, oh man, that sucks. Like I'm jealous because like he golfs like I do, and I just for the same price I could probably figure it out. So anyways, he posts something on Saturday saying, oh, just at Costco, they have more of these in stock. And I was like, holy crap, I got to try and get one. Problem is I'm out where I live and he's out a bit further than where I am. And it was a Sunday and I had to do stuff and I didn't have time. So I got a hold of I talked to my father-in-law, and he was like, and I asked him, I said, hey, cause he's like a golf expert. He's the one I golf with all the time. And I'm like, hey, what do you think? Should I go out and try and get these? Do you think it's worth it? He's like, hey, tell you what, I'll do you one better. I got a friend of mine that lives close to the Costco there. He can go pick up those clubs for you. And I said, really, you'd be willing to do that? He's like, yeah. He owes me a favor. He's like, he'll go do it. I said, okay. So anyways, he goes out there, ends up getting the clubs. And I'm like super happy. I was like, this is awesome. Cause basically I can sell my clubs that I already have for, the same price I would pay for these clubs. So it's all good. Well, here's the part of the story that gets interesting. So apparently when he got there, the lineup to Costco's, this was on a Sunday, Saturday. It was like across the wall here. Well, he's a city inspector when it comes to doing like electrical. So he bypassed the line saying he had to go do an inspection, beat the line, got the pair of clubs, and now I got a nice pair of clubs I'm going to be using on Wednesday. So how about that?
We got to play. Hey, when you can get here to the States, if you come to
we'll play for sure.
The links.
Yeah, we will. We can do top golf,
especially in like Vegas.
Yeah, I'll come out.
Yeah, Vegas will be open. It's opening, right? So we'll have to.
Once I can get across the border, because I like to play. Yeah. Well, no, same here, and I just then I can talk more smack to you, so that would be even better. But no, you better believe I will. We'll definitely play some golf. Actually, what my plan is pretty much once these borders open, I think what I'll do is go cover a UFC in Vegas, and maybe just stay the week and just do a bunch of interviews and get a bunch of content while I'm out there. So that would be my plan. So we could definitely make time for golf.
Yeah. Any time frame on the Canadian border opening up or what?
Nothing. We haven't even got our vaccine yet. Like my
That's
grandparents
because you
got
haven't-
theirs a couple weeks ago.
That's because you
And
got
then-
a communist.
Yeah, no, we
Trudeau.
don't need to talk about Trudeau here. He might be wiretapping these things. But what I'm hearing is June or July I'll get the vaccine, and then I think from there, yeah, then we can start talking about travel. Because my issue is like I can travel now, but you have to go through all these hoops, and then you got to do this crazy quarantine. Like I wouldn't be able to see my family for like a month, which is tough, man. You know this. You got kids. It's tough. So
Stupid.
there you go.
Stupid.
Yeah, we'll get 2 more questions here. When can we expect to see Max Griffin back in the octagon? Maybe a top 15 opponent next.
We are in negotiations right now for a new contract. So once that happens, I'm sure we'll book him. We'll probably know something within the next week or two relative to getting the new deal inked. And then once that happens, he'll probably get an opponent. So maybe late summer.
And last question for Brutally Honest MMA. Who can hate on James Lynch? That's crazy. I agree. I'm a pretty friendly guy.
I hate him all the time.
Jim hates me, but it's a different type of hate. But this manager, if you know who I'm talking about, I don't think I even need to say his name, is very petty with a lot of media members, not just me. So I think you can figure out who that is. And it's unfortunate because I really didn't do anything wrong.
It's your boy Ali.
No comment. No comment on that. All right. Good time to wrap up the show, everyone. We will be back here next week. Same time. We will have a guest next week. We just had a lot of news to talk about, so we figured this week we'd just do a new show. Jim, anything you got to plug? Anything you got coming up this week?
Greg Milliard, one of our guys fighting Bellator this weekend. Mohegan Sun. Tune in from Aruba. Dude's a stud. Is that Jairzinho Rosenstruck? They're cousins.
Oh, really?
So, Greg's making his Bellator debut. Unfortunately, I couldn't go. I had a bad conflict. Otherwise, I'd be there cornering with him, Greg, with Jairzinho. But so this weekend, catch Greg Milliard.
If he wins, send him my way. I'd love to interview that guy. That sounds really cool. He's Jairzinho's cousin?
Yeah,
I think that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll set that up.
Yep.
always
He's always
on
in
Twitter.
Jairzinho's corner. Now Jairzinho's in his corner.
Oh, cool. Okay, so a little reverse the roles. That's kind of neat. Yeah, just quickly before we wrap things up here, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Give us a like. We do the show every Tuesday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Pacific Time. We will have a guest on next week. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Lynch on Sports. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for everyone who submitted questions today. Enjoy the rest of your week.